Is the spring season going hard? Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with another First Impressions Showdown. I know we did one not too long ago, and I try to spread out the showdowns a little more because we can do like regular just one at a time First Impressions, but I also, a lot of times if I can, I want to try to do these First Impression Showdowns for the start of new anime seasons, and that's what we're doing today. We have 5 shows we're doing for today's spring anime season First Impression Showdown, and hopefully I end up liking all of them. That would be ideal, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, there might be some shows for this season that you won't see on this. And if you don't see a certain show, it's just not something that has seemingly interested me. I don't know about it, or I have other plans for it already in terms of reactions. I can tell you there's a couple of shows that will not be like done through First Impressions. They are just coming in the future via regular reaction series. So keep that in mind as well. These are the ones outside of anything that's already been done that I'm specifically choosing to do as a first impression. So, like I said, we have 5 that we're doing here today, and let me go over all of them. So, we have Witch Hat Atelier, Snowball Earth, Mao, Nippon Sangoku, and MARRIAGETOXIN. So, Witch Hat Atelier seems to be one of the big ones of this season. Not counting any kind of like new season of a previously ongoing show. Witch Hat Atelier, the only things I know about it going in is that it's basically being compared to the likes of Little Witch Academia and Owl House as the next gay witch series. And I don't know like how actually gay it is, or if it's more like Little Witch Academia, where it's like, okay, there's strong implication here, but it never actually takes that step. Because that's pretty much like the difference between Little Witch Academia and Owl House. Owl House is actually gay. It is super gay. But Little Witch Academia it never actually takes that step. It never actually becomes canon gay. It's just there's a lot of implication. There's a lot of implication, a lot of potential, but it never actually canonizes it. So I'm wondering kind of like what part of that scale or whatnot Witch Hat Atelier will lie on. But I will say we are going to be doing the dub for this specifically because
I have heard that the dub apparently is getting really heavily praised right now for I guess like the main character's vocal performance during a specific scene. People are even saying that it could be up for next year's anime awards for like vocal performance of the year. That's how impressed everybody is by it so far. Which, I mean, hey, I'll check it out. I don't mind. I mean, it might be that good of a vocal performance. It's very possible. The next show we'll be getting to is Snowball Earth. This one I know nothing about in terms of its plot or characters or anything, but the title interests me because the title makes me think of like an apocalyptic kind of situation. Because there's, I don't think it's actually like fully confirmed because it's really hard to fully confirm things from that long ago. But I believe there's a theory that in the past, in like the ancient past of this world and everything, that the Earth was basically quote unquote a snowball, one or two times. I think this was even featured in the history of the entire world, I guess. Um, but the idea is basically that there is like that the Earth froze over. The Earth pretty much entirely froze over for a period of time. And I'm wondering if this is going to be like some kind of apocalyptic series where that kind of thing happens again. Think like Snowpiercer. You know how in the movie Snowpiercer, I don't know about the series, but I assume it takes place within the same continuity. But or at least the same kind of, situation. It probably isn't the same continuity thinking about it. Unless it's just a different period of time. But either way. In Snowpiercer, the reason they're on the train going around the world and everything is because they were trying to like fix global warming and accidentally went too far. They basically froze the entire world with like this science experiment, for lack of a better way to put it. And so the last living humans have to live on this train forever. Um, which causes, the entire caste system and whatnot that the train has. So it's a whole thing. But I'm wondering if it's kind of like that. If like some science thing ends up basically turning the world into like this icy wasteland. So it's like just based on the title alone, I'm interested. And sometimes that can be the case. And it might be a show for me, it might not be. Mao. Mao is one of the more interesting seeming ones because Mao is from the same creator as Inuyasha, as Ranma One Half, and many, many other shows. Rumiko Takahashi, I think her name is. Um, but basically, like, one of the people who popularized like harem anime and whatnot, and like the entire will they won't they romantic comedy stuff like that. I don't know too much about Mao, but I've heard it's a more serious show, so probably more on the level of Inuyasha. Um, and I'm definitely very curious to check it out because I'm not a fan of Inuyasha, and to be fair, I'm not like the biggest fan of Rumiko Takahashi's works, generally speaking. Um, but if this is like a more serious like show, I'm curious about it, if nothing else. And I want to see like if it's gonna be like on that level of Inuyasha where it's like a mix of comedy and serious, or if it's gonna be even more serious than that. Um, Plus, considering we have other stuff like coming out lately from, famed mangaka as well, I just feel like it's a good time to check something like this out. The next series we have is Nippon Sangoku. This is the one I know the least about, because the title doesn't even tell me anything. The only thing I know about this is it's supposed to be super fucking dark. And that's actually the thing that got me interested in checking it out. I heard some people talking about it on, I want to say it was Twitter. I don't think it was Blue Sky. But I saw some people talking about it, and they said, like, they were talking about, like, the first episode after it had released. And they were saying that this might be the darkest series of the season. And were like mentioning like how fucked up it is. Which that got my attention right away. It's like, ooh, fucked up dark anime? I could dig that. I could dig that. I guess it just depends on how it's done, of course, but I'm definitely, at the very least, very curious about it. But then we also have MARRIAGETOXIN. And I think that this is supposed to be like a really over-the-top romantic comedy slash action series, I think is what I heard. I don't know like the specificities of it or the story. The title is very interesting because it makes me obviously just think of a toxic marriage, which I think is the intent. So I'm wondering if like this is gonna be like, you know, that movie The Roses that I reacted to, where it was Benedict Cumberbatch and I can't remember her name right now, but the actress who's like really good in everything she's in. I can't think of her name right now. But you know how in that movie it's like they get into a fight over like how to live and how to do things, and it ends up causing them to like feud with each other and like do all this crazy shit towards each other. I'm wondering if it's going to be like that, but like in anime form. Where it's like a husband and a wife like really just get on each other's nerves and just fuck with each other constantly. Because that would be kind of fun. I feel like there could be, with it being animation, they could do a lot of really interesting, fun stuff with that. But I don't know. I genuinely don't actually know. I'm just going off of like the little bit I've heard about it and the title. So I guess we'll just have to find out. But yeah, so these are the 5 shows we're going to be doing. I think we're going to do them in that order too. So Witch Hat Atelier, Snowball Earth, Mao, Nippon Sangoku, and MARRIAGETOXIN. Obviously, you're watching this on YouTube because there's pre-thoughts. Pre-thoughts are YouTube only. But all of it will be linked in the description below. There will be links for each of the episodes. If you're well, actually, I should just wait to say that until the actual reaction. But if you're newer to the channel and don't know what a first impression showdown is, or a first impression reaction in general, let me explain that real quick before we get this going. So on this channel, I do something called first impressions for shows that I either don't know what I'm going to think of, or shows that I'm just not sure if I want to react to, stuff like that. And so I check out the first episode of the show, and I determine if it's something I want to continue to react to in the future, something I would rather watch on my own time, or something I'm just not interested in. And if it is something I would want to react to in the future, then it's put onto my list, and I will get to it at some point down the line. It can be soon, it can be a while away, it's kind of up in the air whenever I'm feeling up for getting to that series again. And so a first impression showdown is taking that concept and just doing a bunch of them in one go, in one video. So the way that this redirect video is going to work, after these pre-thoughts, there's going to be a mid-card roll, but then after the mid-card, you're going to see the you can also check it just via the progress bar of the video. There's going to be multiple sets of afterthoughts, one for each of these different reactions. And then there's going to be like a final thoughts section at the very end. And so, yeah, I'll just kind of, you can pick and choose which ones you want to do. You can go to the description below and choose which reactions you want to check out. And then you can check out the equivalent part of the afterthoughts, which in the description, there will also be timestamps for each afterthoughts if you don't want to scroll through the progress bar. So yeah, that's how these first impression showdown videos work. But I think we should get into it and check all of these out. But before we do, I'm going to do something different. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to give my prediction as to which one I think I'm going to like the most. I think it's going to be Witch Hat Atelier. I mean, I feel like that feels almost pretty obvious. If it's gay and it's like a witchy kind of thing, I feel like that's more in my kind of speed. But that's going to be my prediction. It's not necessarily going to be the case. I might end up being wrong. It might be my least favorite for all I know. But that's my prediction before I start recording these. So let's get into it and see if I'm right.
Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out.
And welcome to the Witch Hat Atelier portion of the Afterthoughts. If you are looking for a different portion of the Afterthoughts for a different one of the shows for today's First Impression Showdown, just check the timestamps down in the description below or the progress bar here on the video to find the correct one you're looking for. But we will begin with spoilers for episode 1 of Witch Hat Atelier in 3, 2, 1, now. So I definitely made the right choice in doing the dub. Like I said in the pre-thoughts and in the reaction, I think, the reason I decided to check out the dub for this was because I had heard that the voice acting was like really being praised, especially for the main character, who we now know is Coco. And yeah, the ending bit, like after she casts the forbidden spell and everything, that performance was great. And it's actually not a huge surprise because we know the VA. Anjali Kunapinani, sorry if I mispronounced that, is the voice of Coco and has also voiced Yuri from Genosha and Kiriko from Heavenly Delusion. So yeah, it's like among many other things, of course. So a very good VA who's getting a lot of work lately. But on top of that, Kifri is voiced by Joshua Waters, who is also in Genosha as Rakio. And Coco's mom is Stephanie Young, who you might know as Nico Robin from One Piece. You might know as Olivier Mira Armstrong from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and so many other things. A huge name. Stephanie Young is amazing. So, yeah, just a fantastic cast right off the bat. So I definitely am glad that I decided to check out the dub with this, that I was right in like what I had heard, or I guess that what I heard was right about the dub performances being fantastic. So, right off the bat, this kind of gives me vibes of Little Witch Academia to a degree, though without the academia part yet, though it seems like the next episode might go into that. We see that Coco is a magic fanatic. She kind of gives vibes of Akko, but I would actually compare her more to someone like Deku from My Hero Academia, because Deku had like this really strong knowledge and love for heroes. And it seems like the same can kind of be said about her, about Coco. And it's that kind of like blind fanaticism that's going to drive her to become a great witch, just like it drove Deku to become a great hero. However, the biggest difference here is that Deku knew a lot about heroes because it was public knowledge and something that he could learn about. Coco does not know a huge amount about witches outside of just the general basics, because it's actively kept secret. We find out through this first episode that witchcraft is not something you're born with, as is commonly thought. It is a skill. And that skill comes mostly through drawing / writing out the spells within these glyphs, which also very much reminds me of of the Owl House, which this show has, I've seen comparisons for. Which is a very good thing, because I make it no secret that the Owl House is one of my favorite shows of all time. So if this is gay, like I've heard, and if it is like this really cool witch story with the main thing about her trying to save her mom, which according to Keyfree is possible, as well as finding the witch who originally gave her this book, as well as the wand and all of that, it's like it's just it really feels like it's my thing. Like, this entirely feels like it's my kind of shit. And yeah, I predicted in the pre-thoughts that this was going to be my favorite, and it's on the track to possibly being so. Because it's like, it was a damn good first episode. I don't know if I don't know if any of the others are going to beat it or not. It's just kind of up in the air. It depends on what these other shows are going to be like. But this was a very strong start. It endears us to Coco really quickly, making us like see her as like cute and funny and really charming, but also, you know, like really skilled and talented. As well as just a hard worker, someone who is like very focused and can like do a lot of great things while focused, which, you know, that was a very big moment when it drew attention to that, because we were supposed to understand that side of her. And yeah, it's just a fascinating, interesting idea. I also, this is going to sound weird, but I also like how quick it was that her mother was swallowed up by the ice. There wasn't like this big dramatic moment. It wasn't like this big, like, sad, tearful goodbye or anything. It was like snap of the fingers, the ice swallows her. It just completely captures her. Just super quick. And the struggle actually happens after, with, you know, Coco trying to get out of Keyfree's grip and ending up falling and stuff. Which, again, the vocal performance at that point from Anjali was phenomenal. It was great. But yeah, it's like, I like the world building. It's visually stunning. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. Not just the character designs, but the world, the depictions of the magic, the just every like, you could pause this at almost any point in this episode and take a screenshot and it'd be like this perfect painting. It's so gorgeous. It's just such a beautiful series. The designs are very interesting too. Keyfree's design is very mysterious and unique, with the like really interesting glasses and the outfit and everything. It really draws your attention right away. The instant you see him, you know he's important, you know he's special, and with the focus on magic and witches, you just instantly know he's going to be a witch. Like, you don't even have to wait for that reveal. It's like, you just know. I like that we get like these views of these really interesting creatures, not just the Pegasi that were pulling the carriage, but even just like the grazing animals that we saw that were like very, I guess, cattle-like. It's like, those weren't cows. I don't know what those were, but those were a completely unique creature. And it's like, I love it when fantasy shows introduce like just completely unique, original, like, animals and creatures and monsters and stuff, because it's like, that's just it makes the world feel special. It makes the world feel alive in a way that almost very little else does. Fauna and flora are the two best ways to make a world feel truly real. And so I really think that this series like just expertly expressed that with with the wildlife we saw here. Like, yeah, there was like a deer in it, a pretty regular looking deer. But the fact that we have these other animals that are completely like fantasy, like mythical creature like, almost like something you'd see in a Studio Ghibli film or something, it's like that's just fantastic. The soundtrack is great. It's like it feels very like whimsical and magical, almost like you're discovering things through the music. And I just think that's exactly what a series like this should like sound like. So just all in all, this was fantastic. And like I said, with my love of Little Witch Academia, my love of Owl House, and just this kind of general shit, plus the promise that this series is supposedly gay, it's like it just seems entirely like my kind of thing. And I definitely will be reacting to this in the future. Hell, I might even get to this a lot quicker than other things, just because I want to see more of this. This one might be one that I fast track to coming back to. I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited. Because it's like, I don't know, it's like I haven't had my fill of this kind of content, this kind of media, since Owl House ended. It's like there's been other shows that I've loved that have some similarities in terms of style and humor and just overall vibes, but nothing quite the same. Nothing that quite fills that specific void, because it's such a specific void. And I think that this show might be what I'm looking for. So yeah, I'm excited. I might very well fast track this to coming back to the channel a lot quicker than other things. But who knows? There might be other shows today that that impress me just as much, if not even more, which I hope for. I would love that. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below on this first episode of Witch Hat Atelier. And if you're gonna check out the other reactions as well, please do. Links are still in the description below. But that will be the end of this portion of the Afterthoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's continue on. Welcome to the Snowball Earth portion of the Afterthoughts. If you are looking for a different portion of the Afterthoughts, you can find the timestamps to all of them in the description below, or you can search along the progress bar here on the video. But if you are here for the Snowball Earth portion of the Afterthoughts, we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, you know how some anime have like a double length first episode? Where it's, instead of like 22 minutes, it's about 44, 45 minutes long. This needed that. This felt so incredibly rushed that it feels like way too much happened in way too short of a time. And it just didn't quite work as well as I would have hoped. The concept is great, but it definitely needed like twice as much time, at least, to get to the point where it got to here. Because there's like, what is this, like 4 or 5 time skips here? Let's think about this. Okay, so it starts off with Tetsuo being 9 years old. And then it goes to 10 years later. He has been piloting Snowman, Yukio, for 10 years. Right? He's become the savior of humanity and everything. But he has like these horrible social skills because of it. And he already had bad social skills as a kid. So he's like really bad with like social communication and whatnot. He spent 10 years becoming the savior through fighting these kaiju and everything. 10 years later, which means 10 years after that, Tetsuo and Yukio are in the final battle, fighting the kaiju in space with the warship and everything. Everything goes wrong and all, and like at that point, Yukio ejects Tetsuo, and we know like he heads back to Earth. Tetsuo returns to Earth 8 years after that. Meaning it's been 28 years since he was a 9-year-old kid. What? We're supposed to believe that he is like 37 in the current day? Because that's how old he would be. If he starts off as a 9-year-old kid, over the course of 10 years, he becomes the savior. And then 10 years later, he's in the final battle in space. That's 20 years already. That would already be 29 at the point where he's fighting in the final battle in space. And then it's another 8 years before he gets back to Earth. Granted, he was cryo-frozen. So he would probably he's physically still like 29. Even though he's like actually 37. Right? That's insane. That's like 3 different time skips, 4 different time periods in the course of one 22-minute episode. That's too much. This needed to be double length. Because on top of it, it's rushing through everything as well. It's not just that you have all these time skips. It's not that you have like all these different time periods. It's that it's rushing through them all. You don't get to like really like see much of anything to the point where it's like you're not like actually sympathizing with him. You can't sympathize with Tetsuo's plight of his chronic shyness and social anxiety too much when you don't see enough of it. You only see a couple examples of it the entire episode. And it's like the kaiju fighting would be cooler if we actually got to see enough of it. But again, it's just fast forwarding through everything. Like they really wanted to make sure that we got to the Snowball Earth part. Like actually got to see that by the end of the first episode. And that was the problem. But again, if they wanted to do that, it should have just been a double length episode. It should have been 45 minutes instead of 22. Instead, everything felt rushed. It didn't feel like we got a chance to really take anything in and absorb any information. Like, I had to look up how many time skips there were. I had to look up how many times it actually jumped forward 10 years. Because I wasn't sure. I wasn't confident in that. That's ridiculous. And then it's like the main goal is all about him making friends because his childhood was quote-unquote stolen from him. And everything because of this entire thing. But the problem is, one, nothing was stolen from him. He chose this. He's literally the one who chose to go into the robot and fight kaiju with it. And two, how is that going to change? Even if he makes friends, which he probably will, he's still going to be doing the fighting and stuff. There's still going to be the kaiju and the humanoid alien that we see in the opening and ending to deal with. He's still going to have to be dealing with the fact that the Earth has had a global freezing. It's like, this is just... Not much is going to change. Like what, 99% of the Earth's population is fucking dead? And you expect, like, this to be a show about making friends? We're not going to be focusing on that shit. This isn't Comey Can't Communicate. This is a fucking post-apocalyptic series. I'm just so confused by how this is being handled and the entire friendship aspect in the first place. This is a series that I might continue to check out on my own time, but ultimately I feel that this first episode really dropped the ball. The concept is great. I love the concept. The idea of this genius kid becoming a mech pilot to fight these alien kaiju, and then after a long time in space on this big mission to destroy the kaiju homeworld, or just the kaiju nest or whatever, um he finally makes it back to Earth, and it's like 8 years later, and the entire Earth has been engulfed in like in ice and snow, and like that's a good concept. I just don't feel like it's well executed. I don't feel like this is like well done at all. The voice acting's fine, the art and animation's fine. I have no issue with any of that kind of stuff. It's purely the pacing and writing. Like, I have no problem even with Tetsuo being like chronically shy, being like this really socially awkward character. I have no issue with that. But it's the way everything is handled. And it's this intense focus on the fact that he's socially awkward and is like wanting to make friends. It's like that should not be a priority right now at all. Like having that be like a priority to this series makes no sense. I'm just really fucking confused by this. Cuz like again, the concept is great. It has potential. But when it's this rushed, and when like you're putting a focus on something that makes sense for like a slice of life comedy series, but not an action sci-fi, it feels weird and off. I just I think this is a miss, honestly. Yeah, I feel like this is a miss. Like I said, I might watch it on my own time. I might check it out on my own time. If I find the time, I'm already watching some stuff on my own time, like Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, but I wouldn't be opposed to watching other stuff like this on my own time as well. But I'm not like even 100% sure if I'm going to do that. I might give it another shot, see how it goes, but I'm not reacting to this. I can tell you that for sure. I I I just feel like I'm going to just be frustrated if I try to react to this. And I feel like if the pacing continues to be this bad, and if the focus on the friendship aspect continues to be this annoying, I'm just going to get irritated by it. Again, great concept, bad execution. Which really sucks because the concept is really good and interesting. Also, I do love the derpy ass designs of the kaiju. That they're really fun. They're so fucking derpy. You know what they kind of remind me of? I think it's the first or second stage of Shin Godzilla specifically. If you've ever seen the movie Shin Godzilla, it's a very specific version of Godzilla where he kind of like transforms in from between multiple stages throughout the film. And one of those stages is very fucking derpy looking. And it very much these things very much remind me of it, and it might be intentional. It might be like inspired by that. Um but yeah, it's like I love the designs of these guys. It's like head empty, no thoughts, all eat. Just om nom nom. Great designs, but again, it's just the pacing and everything, the focus on the friendship, and it feels off to me. And I just don't feel like it's something I want to put time into for the channel. But I would love to hear your thoughts. If you know the manga, Like, let me know if this is paced better in the manga, but don't give me any spoilers in case I do decide to watch this, continue watching this on my own time. Just let me know if, like, this portion of the manga is better paced or if it's just as rushed. Um, but that all being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, yeah, I'm Connie, and that was my thoughts for this portion of the Afterthoughts. Let's continue on and see what we have in store next. And welcome to the Mao portion of the Afterthoughts. If you are looking for a different portion of the Afterthoughts, check the timestamps down in the description below or the progress bar here on the video. But if you are here for the Mao portion of the Afterthoughts, we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this is, interesting, I guess. But it seems to be like, I don't know when the original manga for this came out, but it feels very, not old school in terms of like, in terms of its looks or style or anything like that, but it feels very old school in terms of, I guess you could say it feels tropey. Like the entire thing of, oh, we have a main character who's like secretly this other, who's not human, but secretly this other being, this other type of race or supernatural monster or something, and has to discover and master their powers in order to fight more monsters while working alongside this mysterious love interest who's quiet and cool and whatnot. And it's just like, come on. Really? Like these are tropes that we've seen so many times before, and it's like, yeah, I know that Rumiko Takahashi has created a lot of tropes in terms of a lot of her works. But still, it's because of, like, you know, watching this in 2026, I'm going to view it as a viewer of something like this in 2026. And I just feel, it just feels like very tropey and very generic. The visuals in terms of design, art, animation, all of that are fine. I have no issue with any of that. The voice acting is good, the music and everything is good, but the story and, like, everything, it's just like, it didn't really hook me in. I'm not really, like, super invested in, like, the mystery aspect of this, or, like, what really happened, with her parents being killed and everything. It's just like, it didn't hook me in. It didn't grip me as much as I feel like it needed to. And then you have the entire thing about, like, Mao being cursed by the Byoki, and everything. And it's just like, eh. Again, it just feels very, like, stereotypically bland. It just doesn't, like, have anything about it that really, like, that really grips me in a way that feels refreshing or new or interesting. Like, if this series had come out, like, 20 years ago, I probably could have gotten into it. But as it is here, it's just like, eh. It's like with all the different anime that come out nowadays, this one just didn't do anything for me. Like, the characters aren't even charming or interesting enough to be, like, super invested in from that level. They don't feel like that special or interesting or like super likable to any real degree. The main character she feels so bland. And I understand the point is there that she's trying to be written as a, you know, ordinary teen girl who suddenly, like, stumbles into this world and realizes she's not an ordinary teen girl. I get that's the point, but she's too ordinary. she's ordinary to to the point where she just, I don't feel like I know anything about her in terms of personality, in terms of interests. The only thing I can even say like I know about her character is that she doesn't like the smoothies, the health smoothies. That's literally it. That's literally the only thing I could tell you about her. And, she's apparently an Ayakashi. But that doesn't actually explain anything about her personality or character. That's just like, oh, the big twist of what she is. She just doesn't really have that much of a character right now. And maybe that'll grow as it goes along, but when I do these first impressions, the big thing is that it has to hook me in. It has to make me invested right from the start. And I just don't feel like this did. This might be something I maybe continue to give a chance on my own time, but it's definitely not something I want to react to. It's not something I want to put forth like time and effort into making a reaction series out of. I didn't like it that much. And it's not even that it was bad. It's that it was like nothing. It genuinely made me feel nothing. So it's like, I almost kind of wish it were bad, because at least then I would care to some degree to have an opinion. But instead, it just felt so void of anything that I just don't care. Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but it's like, clearly this isn't for me. Clearly this one just didn't do it for me and is just not going to be something that I would be invested in continuing. So I know these, compared to the other two, have been some short afterthoughts, but I don't really have anything else to say. So let me know your thoughts on this first episode of Mao in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's continue on with the rest of these. Welcome to the Nippon Sangoku portion of the Afterthoughts. If you're looking for a different portion of the Afterthoughts, you can find the timestamps in the description below, or you can just search on the progress bar here on the video. But if you are here for the Nippon Sangoku portion of the Afterthoughts, we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this is fascinating, because this takes place 100 years after the end of the Reiwa area, which is the current, or Reiwa era, not area, Reiwa era, which is the current era of Japan that started in 2019. I did look that up. At the end of the Reiwa era, I did it again, god damn it. At the end of the Reiwa era, a lot of shit went down. There was this big nuclear war. Japan wasn't like directly a part of the war's battlefield, but it was affected by things with refugees coming in and everything, and there was a violent revolution that led to like Japan being reduced to like, what was it, 1/10 of the population? And technology and everything just completely reverted to like the Meiji era, to the point where it's like, it's basically post-apocalyptic. It is basically a post-apocalyptic series. And again, it takes place like 100 years into the future from like current day pretty much. So that's wild too. But we follow this agricultural officer named Ateru, who marries this young woman named Saki, who I assume her marrying at such a young age, only 16, is probably due to the reversion of the country to like old cultures and stuff. old cultural ideals. Not to mention the fact that like part of the fall of Japan and everything was due to like declining birth rates and aging populations and whatnot. So it's probably a combination of all that kind of stuff. People are probably marrying earlier again, which there's a lot you could say about that, but I think that's the point. I think that's like you're intentionally supposed to be a little weirded out by that because it's like the Japan has completely reverted, and who knows what the rest of the world is like, considering again there was nuclear war. Um, Japan actually might be in the best condition comparatively. But either way, um, sometime after their marriage, the library director who we saw at the wedding dies. And so Aoteru and Saki are alone, and that's when the one guy, I can't remember what his position was, but this director from the capital comes in. And he's, terrible. He's an atrociously shitty person. He's just basically everything you think of when you think of an elitist piece of shit. The problem is, like, he only has his position because he kind of married into it and then killed the former emperor by poison. And it's like, apparently this is well known of, too. He also, like, put his daughter in a position of power and everything. So it's like he's basically just untouchable because of how he specifically manipulated things. But he comes in and is just terrible. We see this guy drops potatoes and he trips on them, and so the guy ends up getting drawn and quartered. And at one point we see that Saki confronts a tax collector working for the guy, and not only like physically fights back against him to protect the people that the tax collector is hassling, but speaks out as well. And all of this ends up being reported to the director, who by the next morning has Saki killed. Her body is separated, her arms, legs are chopped off, her head is chopped off, and her head is placed in a box for Aoteru. Though when he wakes up, he like discovers that it's already happened, and he's trying to like figure out what to do basically as he confronts the director. We see throughout the episode that Aoteru is extremely logical, and so while Saki was obviously extremely emotional. And so he ends up realizing that if he tried to kill them now like this, it would just lead to him dying. It wouldn't change anything. The kind of change that Saki wanted to bring about and like bring back the former era of Japan, the Nippon era, I guess. And so it's like, or I guess the Reiwa era would have been the last era. So they're trying to bring back the Nippon or the Reiwa era, or wanted to, not really trying to bring it back, but he realizes that he can't really make the changes necessary that his wife wanted if he acts out now. And so he's choosing instead to combine action and discussion. He uses his intelligence and his knowledge of things like the art of war to manipulate the situation. He expresses to the director what happened, but twists it ever so slightly, without ever actually lying, to express that the one who actually called the director Fatso was not his wife, but the tax collector. And this is convincing enough that the that the tax collector gets beheaded for it. It just completely works out. It was a way for the tax collector to be killed without Aoteru having to commit the action himself. He manipulated the action into occurring through his intelligence. And we even see the director notes that Aoteru didn't have like rage behind his eyes and everything. But we see shortly after that he's crying like while sending his wife off with like a funeral pyre, basically. And we see that his goal is to change the world, to change Japan especially, and achieve what his wife wanted. Because it was made very clear that he agreed with his wife, but they disagreed on how to enact that kind of thing. Because again, him being a lot more logically thinking while she was more emotional, they had different views on how to, do things. And she had always said that his biggest weakness was his lack of courage. That he never really was willing to put forth the action needed to back up his words, which I feel a lot of people face. A lot of people are too afraid to like back up their words with actions in the real world, in real life situations. It's entirely reasonable, and you can't really hate on people for having that fear because of how, especially with the kinds of things that are happening in this world and country today. It's difficult to actually speak out. So it's very understandable. But he finds that he can't just sit back. He does have to take action here, and so he's doing it in his own way. He has military knowledge, but not the actual experience to really enact it. Because that is very different. It's very different knowing about war and actually knowing how to fight in war. I have to praise this series for its art direction. Like, not just the animation, but the actual, like, varied styles and the like, gorgeous, stylistic approach that this series has. Like, honestly, this might be one of the most visually stunning anime I've seen in a long time. And not that I haven't seen other amazingly animated and artistic shows, but a lot of the times I feel like I just don't see shows that take this, like, intense of an art, of a step in that kind of direction for its art. Like, most of the anime you see has a fairly homogenized style to it, with some variance here in terms of like character design and whatnot. You can have some like that are a little more chibi-ish, while some are a little more realistic and whatnot. Some are like more hyper stylized in terms of like huge muscle characters, or really sharp and pointed features. But you don't really see this kind of style often. Especially like they do like a bunch of stuff with the color work with like blacks and whites at points, but then like really bright colors. Like the very end has like the really bright colors when he's saying that he's going to change the world. But prior to that, the entire scene with like him confronting the director and getting his wife's head, it's like pretty much purely black and white, with just the only color being the red of his wife's blood. And it's just like, it's so well designed. It's stunning. It is a visual feast for the eyes. And again, there's like other anime that are coming out currently that look fantastic, but nothing quite like this. Nothing that quite has this level of stylism. And I've talked before how I prefer stylism when it comes to any piece of media. When it comes to shows, movies, video games, comics, doesn't matter. I prefer stylism to hyperrealism every time. When a series or a movie or game or whatever has its own specific style that has a unique look to it that makes it stand out, that is my bread and butter. That is the kind of shit I love to see. And this series has that in spades. It is so well done. It is so gorgeous to look at. I absolutely adored the visual direction this took. The story itself is fairly interesting. Like, I'm not a huge I'm not the biggest political fan in terms of my like media I take in. Um there's some media I like that is very political in nature. One Piece is obviously hyper political. The Darwin incident is a recent series that's hyper political. But like for the most part, like a lot of super political stuff doesn't like entirely appeal to me because it's honestly very real a lot of times, and a lot of that can like really bum me out if I'm being honest. A lot of it can like really just emotionally fuck me up. And like for good reasons, for valid reasons, but at the same time, it's hard, it's hard to watch stuff like that when there's these constant world events happening that are like horrific and destroying so much. And it's just turn on the news in America like any time in the recent like decade and you're going to be like shocked by the amount of horrors you see just from the political aspect of things. It's really fucked, especially with, the fascist in chief we have here in America. But it's one of those kinds of situations where there's occasionally a piece of media that is hyper political, like by nature, that it's just entirely political. That does completely win me over. Like I gave you the examples. I gave you One Piece. I gave you the Darwin incident. Those are extremely political. Lazarus was another great example. Carol and Tuesday, most things by Shinichiro Watanabe, to be fair. That's something he tends to do very well. But a lot of Studio Ghibli movies are also very political, touch on extremely political themes. So it's like featuring like a super political anime like this with such a phenomenal stylistic design style to it, and like it's also basically this really interesting and sympathetic revenge story while also being post-apocalyptic. It's like it's just kind of hitting all of these nails on the head. And it's like this is absolutely a series that I will be continuing to react to at some point. I don't know exactly when it's going to be. I don't know like how quickly I'm going to get back to this, but this is absolutely a series that I want to continue specifically to react to. Because I'll be honest, I don't know a huge amount about Japan's history politically. I don't. So there's not going to be a lot like I can maybe compare to in that regard, or like a lot to say like for that side of things. But there's definitely going to be things in this that I can absolutely compare to just the general ideas and senses of the real world and real life politicians, or even I could compare it to other shows and stuff. I'm very curious and very interested to see like what kind of things they touch on and what kind of paths they take. Plus, again, it's just visually like stunning. And I just want to see more of it because of that. So yeah, we'll definitely be continuing this. Like I said, I don't know exactly when, but we will definitely be continuing this one. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me what you thought of this first episode of Nippon Sangoku in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's continue with the next portion. Welcome to the marriage toxin. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. Portion of the afterthoughts. If you are looking for a different portion of the afterthoughts, just check the timestamps down in the description below, or check the progress bar here on the video to find the portion you're looking for. But if you are here with the for the marriage toxin portion of these afterthoughts, we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Well, this is not really what I expected. I expected like some kind of like romantic comedy or something. Based off of like some kind of like toxic relationship thing. Like my thoughts were gonna like, oh, it's gonna go into like this toxic relationship. It's gonna be all about like these two people who are who like not necessarily hate each other, but they're going to be in a relationship and they end up like being like terrible to each other constantly. It's like a super toxic relationship, but for some reason they really love each other or something. No, instead it seems more like a shonen. It seems more like an action shonen about this assassin who in order to protect his lesbian sister from being forced into a heterosexual marriage in order to birth an heir to their family's assassination clan, he has to get married. And so he's being mentored, you could almost say, by this marriage swindler to learn how to hook up with women. But there's also strong implication that the end game is probably him and said marriage counselor, marriage swindler, Kinasaki, Mei Kinasaki, who is a boy, by the way. He is an extremely androgynous boy who can pretend to be male or female to, target a bunch of different people. Also, apparently, Mei has a like brother in extremely bad shape, medical shape. And so like he was trying to con people to get the money to, for his brother. And Garo has agreed to help with that, sort of as payment for for May's services. It's such a fascinating concept. It's also super fucking gay. Like, really blatantly super fucking gay. Because, like, on top of Garo's sister being a lesbian, it's like May is also, like, either bi or pan. He clearly, like, has absolutely no qualms about, like, dating or hooking up with anyone, no matter what their gender. Though there is a certain heteronormative ideal to how it's portrayed because of May's androgyny. He pretends to be a girl when hooking up with guys and presents himself as a guy when hooking up with girls. I assume there's probably going to be like gay aspects to it, like, oh, like he ends up hooking up with a guy at some point and has to be a guy, or vice versa with a girl. He has to like present as a girl for that. I assume there's situations like that, but it's presented so far in this first episode, at least in a more heteronormative lens, which is very like it's just how things are. Unfortunately, it sucks, and I wish it wasn't just automatically heteronormative by like design, but You can't get everything, unfortunately. At least it's still super queer nonetheless. And I hope that that is like very much continued to be a notable focus. Um, but yeah, this series has like an interesting like humor to it. Like there's certain parts that aren't like necessarily like trying to be funny, but are presented in a really weird way to the point where it's clear you're supposed to kind of laugh at the absurdity of it. Like Bugmaster. Bugmaster is entirely absurd. Like someone was walking by, I think leading a dog, so she has to bark. But Bugmaster, like in his introductory scene there, like he has this mask on, and you see like what looks like a scorpion or something poking out from on top of the mask. It's like, oh, get back in there, and it's like, what the fuck? Also, he has like a tattoo of a centipede over his eye and shit. It's just like, what the fuck is happening? It's so over the top and silly. And obviously there's like, a lot of typical shonen action moments, like when he uses the poison. I guess it's corrosive enough to literally cut a car in half. What the fuck? On top of like whatever he did to those assassins in the room, warehouse, whatever you'd call it, that he first met May in, because he was there to kill to kill him originally. Also, I love there's also some humor with like the guy who tried to kidnap May there was the younger brother, I guess, of the guy who was originally trying to kill May, or originally having Garrow kill May. And it's like, my brother like was wanting to be the head of the family, and now he just wants to be in like this, I don't know, flower business or whatever the fuck it was. I don't remember exactly what it was. But then it's like, after the car is cut in half and he's like launched down and flying into the ocean, he's like, oh, that actually sounds pretty nice. And he's like, he has like this kind of like just relaxed look on his face as he falls in, as he continues to sit there in the half of the car as it falls into the water. It's like, that's actually really funny. That's actually really good. This is definitely one of those shows that's like so absurd in its like over the top delivery and presentation, that it just really makes it work. It really makes it work despite like the plot not being like anything really special. It kind of combines elements of romantic comedy with the shonen aspect, though, and I just think it kind of works. But the question, and I was kind of going back and forth on this the entire time while watching. The question is, do I want to continue to react to this, or would this be better better as something I watched on my own time? And I think it's because I was going back and forth on that like the entire time while watching. I think I'm gonna give it a chance and continue to try to react to it. But it might be something that in the future I might prefer to watch on my own time. But I'm gonna continue to give it a chance. I don't know when I'll get back to it. I don't know like how quickly I'll end up returning to this series, because with first impressions, it could be quickly, it could be way down the line, who knows. But yeah, I'll give it another chance here to see if it like really like solidly locks me in as a reaction series rather than just a my own time series. But I do want to continue it either way. I am very fascinated by this series. Also, May's kind of like a cutie patootie, so there's that aspect too. And I like characters who are cutie patooties. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'm very into this. So we'll see how it goes in the future, and I'll determine at some point after that if I want to continue reacting to it after that point, or if I would rather watch it on my own time. But we'll figure that out in the future. We will at least try to continue reacting to it first. But that being said, let me know your thoughts on Marriage Toxin on this first episode, at least, down in the comments below. No spoilers, as always. And let's continue on and move on to the final thoughts. Welcome to the final thoughts portion of the afterthoughts, the final thoughts of this first impression showdown. We're going to be talking about, like, I guess, minor spoilers for everything we've reacted to today. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on anything specific, I would suggest checking those out first. But if you're ready and willing to continue on with, like, my final, like, closing remarks and my rankings of these 5 series, we'll begin with the spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this was a pretty, like, overall good set of shows we reacted to for the spring 2026 season. And not all of them are ones that I want to continue to react to. But we had a pretty fairly good turnout, considering. Out of the 5 shows we reacted to, 3 of them are ones that I want to continue reacting to, at least for now. One of them I'm not completely sure if I would rather watch on my own time or not. But at least for now, I'm going to continue reacting to it in the future. But let's go over these. So I'm gonna actually rank these from least to most favorite based off of just these first episodes, based off just my first impressions on them. So my least favorite is probably Mao. This is the series by the same creator as Inuyasha and Ranma 1/2 and so on and so forth. Urusei Yatsura. But the first episode just didn't hook me in. It didn't grab me. It didn't, like, really get me invested in any of the characters or the story. The main character is just kind of boring and bland to me. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about her personality. And the titular character of Mao is just your very stereotypical, edgy love interest character. Nothing else really to say about him either. It's not that interesting, and I didn't get hooked in. I didn't start to care really about what was happening or anything that had happened to the characters. It felt so, like, generic. I don't know how else to put it, but it felt generic to me. And I wasn't interested. I'm not interested in continuing. I probably won't watch on my own time, but maybe I'll give it another shot on my own. I definitely will not be reacting to it. One step up from that, though, is Snowball Earth. Snowball Earth had a good concept, just poor execution. It felt way too rushed. It needed to be a double-length first episode, or at least have the not getting to the Snowball Earth until the second episode. Either way, it just felt super rushed. There were too many time skips. And honestly, it didn't give me enough time to connect with anything or anyone. I also am not a huge fan of the entire, I have to make friends angle. It's like, that just feels out of place with everything else for the series. Though there were some aspects I did like about it, like the kaiju designs were pretty fun. They were just so derp-ass. It was great. I love a good derp-ass monster design. So yeah, it's like, the concept is good. I like the idea behind it, but I don't think the execution worked. At least not for me. So Snowball Earth is one that I'm going to continue to give a chance on it on my own time, maybe. But I feel like this one might not be for me. Next up, we get to the 3 that I did really like, and I do plan to continue for now. In third place is Marriage Toxin. Marriage Toxin was not what I expected at all. It turns out it's more of a shonen series and is also super gay. And as the princess of gay, that's definitely an appealing factor to me. But it's also surprisingly funny and charming and interesting. And I don't know if it's something I would rather watch on my own time or not. Or if it's something that I really do want to react to, but I'm going to give it a chance and try to continue to react to it for the time being. I don't know when I'm going to get back to it, but I'm going to try to give it one more chance to react to it. If I do end up doing it for my own, if I do end up choosing to end up doing it on my own time at some point, then we'll deal with that then. My runner up, my second place though, for this movie, or this movie, I almost said movie week, for this first impression showdown was Nippon Sangoku. Nippon Sangoku is definitely the best looking series of this set. It's visually stunning. It is so absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. It has such a great stylism to it. And it seems to be a really interesting revenge story with very strong political and post-apocalyptic themes to it, which I can dig. I can very much dig that. So I really like the idea of what it's doing. And again, I want to continue reacting to it just because of how visually, like, unbelievably stunning it is. Like that alone makes me want to continue reacting to it. And so that's big praise. But my number one is the one that I thought was going to be my number one. Witch Hat Atelier. Witch Hat Atelier is pretty much scratching an itch for me. An itch that I have not had scratched since the end of The Owl House. And that is Gay Witch Academia. Gay Witch Academia is basically a subgenre in and of itself at this point, with the likes of Little Witch Academia and The Owl House joining this. And yeah, it's just my thing. Like, it's gay. I like the witchy stuff. And it's like this really cute, like, story about a super enthusiastic young girl who is just obsessed with the idea of the magic power system in the world. It's just like, yeah, that sounds great. It's also super well animated, has fantastic voice acting, and it's just something I want to see more of. It's something that instantly hooked me in and won me over, and I'm in. This is the kind of shit I want to see. And I don't know if it'll continue to keep my attention that well. I don't know if it'll continue to be this good for me. It might just be the first episode being this good. But I'm going to have faith in it. And I definitely want to continue reacting to it. And like I said, I said this in the specific Witch Hat Atelier afterthoughts. But I might actually fast track this one. This is one that I actually might want to fast track to get to quicker. Which, that's saying something. That's saying a lot, actually, because it shows just how much I do genuinely love this series right off the bat. Like, I'm in. I'm hooked. This is exactly what I hoped it would be, and more. So yeah. Witch Hat Atelier completely won me over. It's absolutely as good as everyone's been saying it is. And it is my favorite of this first impression showdown. So yeah. I think I had a good time today, and I would love to know what your favorite of this showdown was. And what are some of your favorite anime that have been coming out in this spring season so far? Remember, just because it's not on here doesn't mean that I'm not necessarily interested in any other anime coming out this season. Some I may not just know, or I may just not know about. And then there's a couple, I'm just going to tell you to keep in mind, there are a couple that will be coming as just normal reaction series in the future. Um, you won't have to worry about them being first impressions, because I don't need a first impression to know I'm going to be into them. So keep on the lookout for those. But yeah, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. No spoilers for any of the shows that I reacted to today. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.